Hey everyone, and welcome to another Zim tutorial. Today, I want to show you my Apex Legends configuration tutorial for Zim Apex. It will also work with the Zim 4. This tutorial is optimized for the very latest Apex Legends Zim changes, but more about that later. Apex Legends is a game which heavily benefits from using sub-configurations, so spending a bit more time customizing your Zim configuration is more than worth it and will noticeably increase your gaming experience. In this video I will go over the following topics. The first topic will be about the best Zim and mouse polling rate for Apex Legends. The polling rate makes a big difference in how smooth your mouse movements are, and how strong the aim assist will be. The highest possible polling rate is not necessarily the best one. In the second topic I will show you the best in-game settings for Apex Legends. This is very important as it matters quite a lot which settings you use in the in-game options. You basically have two options to choose from, and that choice will heavily influence your aiming mechanics. The second topic is about the actual Apex Legends configuration. In that part of the video I will go over the best settings for hip and aim down sights. In the third topic I will show you how to set up a sub-configuration with which you can comfortably use the radial shield and health menu of the game. This trick will greatly help you to quickly switch and choose your healing item within its menu. The fourth topic will be about the grenade and ping menu. Similar to the previous topic, I will show you how to create sub-configurations with which you can navigate through those two radial menus without any problems. In the fifth topic I will show you a trick with which you can control the inventory menu with your mouse. This works very well and makes it much easier to organize and restructure your inventory. I can only recommend you to give this trick a try. Before I start with the first topic, this video is built on top of my basic Zim configuration guide. If you are a Zim newcomer, and you do not know how to enable the expert mode, update your game profile list, or create a new Zim game profile, then I highly recommend you to watch this video first. You can find it under link 1 in the video description. These steps are not shown in this video. As always, you can find the copy and paste codes of everything that I show you in this tutorial in the video description. If you have problems to understand this tutorial, then you can either ask in the comments down below, or you can click on the pastebin link in the video description. This will forward you to the full English text of this tutorial. You can use the text with a translation software for example. But let's start with the first topic of this video. Which Zim and mouse polling rate you should use for Apex Legends. First start your Zim manager and connect it to your Zim. Once that is done, click on the Options button in the top right. After that head into the Global Settings. Here you can adjust your Zim polling rate. Apex Legends works best with either 500 or 1000 Hz for both your Zim and your mouse. The difference between the two can be narrowed down to two things: the aim assist strength and the smoothness of the mouse movements. 1000 Hz will give less aim assist than 500 Hz. So, if you want more aim assist, then consider to use 500 Hz. As for the smoothness of your mouse movements, this mainly depends on how stable your mouse runs 500 or 1000 Hz. A more consistent polling rate will also give the better mouse movements. If you do not know which polling rate is the most stable, and therefore works best with your mouse, then you can do a polling rate benchmark test. In my best Zim and mouse polling rate tutorial I am showing you 3 benchmarks with which you can identify the ideal polling rate for your mouse and your Zim. You can find it under link 2 in the video description. So, pick the polling rate now with which your mouse runs the best. My mouse doesn't run so well on 1000 Hz, so I will go with 500 Hz. If your mouse cannot run 500 or 1000 Hz, then use the highest polling rate profile that your mouse supports. This will then also be the polling rate that you use for your Zim. Once you have adjusted your Zim polling rate, hit the Save button in the bottom right. You can now leave this menu by pressing the arrow in the top left. After that, power cycle your Zim Apex. You do that by unplugging and reconnecting your Zim to the console. That way you restart your Zim. This is necessary so that your polling rate changes become active. You can ignore this step if you use a Zim 4 as it runs on a locked 125 Hz polling rate. In the second topic, I will show you the best in-game settings for Apex Legends. Click on the wrench button in the bottom right of your game picture, and then continue by pressing the Yes button in the pop-up window. That way you will be directed to the Zim forums with the recommended Zim settings. You have two options to choose from now. Apex Legends has basically no aim assist when you use the maximum controller sensitivity of the game. So, if you want to have no aim assist, then go with an in-game sensitivity of 8 for both controller options. If you prefer to have aim assist though, then you can use a value of 7 for both sensitivity options. With these settings the game will have aim assist. The look mechanic between the two settings is identical, the only difference is the aim assist. There is no change in turn speed or mouse precision between the two. So, start your Apex Legends game and head into its game options. You can now adjust your game settings to match your preferred playstyle. As you can see, I will use an in-game sensitivity of 7 because I feel more comfortable playing the game with aim assist. Also, make sure to match the other requirements from the Zim website such as the response curve and the look dead zone. Another important in-game option is the field of view. Switch one tab to the right to find this option. Right now, the game doesn't run very well when using a field of view value of more than 90. Therefore, I would recommend you to not go above 90. This may change in a future version of the game when it has received more optimization patches. Until then I will go with 90 for this tutorial. The other two option tabs are not relevant for the quality of your Zim mouse movements. This means that you can use your own settings for gameplay and audio there. Once you have adjusted your in-game settings, you can go back to your Zim manager. The third topic is about the actual Apex Legends Zim configuration. Click the Configuration Edit button in the top left to enter the editing menu of your Apex Legends configuration. The first thing you should do here is to change the configuration light. Pick your favorite color from the list. I will go with blue for this tutorial. Whenever my Zim now shows a blue light, I know that my Apex Legends game profile is running. On the right side of the configuration color you can find the hotkey option. I will use the F1 key for this feature. This allows me to load my Apex Legends Zim profile by pressing F1 on my keyboard whenever I want to. Now let's swipe one time to the right in your Apex Legends Zim configuration. This will load the hip menu. The first thing you should do here is to adjust your synchronization settings. Under your Zim hip sensitivity you can find a button with 3 dots. Click that button to open the advanced options of your mouse movements. The synchronization feature has a big influence on how smooth and responsive your mouse movements will be. It also plays a big role in how strong or weak the aim assist is. Synchronization Default and Common give the best mouse movements in Apex Legends. The main difference between the two is the following. Default will slightly reduce the aim assist while Common gives more aim assist and also smoother mouse movements. I will go with Common for this tutorial as I prefer the better mouse movements. If you have a Zim 4 then you can ignore this setting as it runs on a locked default synchronization. Once you have picked your preferred synchronization value, you can continue by adjusting your hip sensitivity in your Zim manager. Go with a sensitivity that you feel comfortable with. If you are unsure which mouse sensitivity works best for you, then I highly recommend you to watch my tutorial video on how to find your perfect Zim sensitivity. You can find it under link 3 in the video description. My preferred Zim hip mouse sensitivity for Apex Legends is 7. If you want to play with a higher or lower value, then this is absolutely fine. One thing to consider though is that your mouse DPI has a noticeable influence on how high or low your Zim sensitivity value will be. The more DPI you use, the lower your Zim sensitivity will be. My Apex Zim sensitivity of 7 is based on 3200 DPI. In general, I highly recommend you to use at least 3000 DPI for the best mouse movements. If you want to learn more about mouse DPI, and how it affects your Zim and the quality of your mouse movements, then you can watch my best mouse and Zim DPI tutorial under link 4 in the video description. Next to the synchronization feature you can find the steady aim and boost option. Steady aim isn't really helpful for Apex Legends. The same applies to some extent to boost. Neither of the two are needed for a great aim assist experience in Apex Legends. However, a small boost value will make your mouse movements more responsive. If you prefer your mouse movements to be a little bit crispier, then I suggest you to go with a value of 0 to 100. I will pick 80 for this tutorial. For steady aim I would stay in the range of 0 to 3. I will not use any steady aim though, as it's not really needed. If you experience mouse stutter, then you can now add some smoothing. With the settings I show you in this video there should be no mouse stutter though. If you still want to add some smoothing, then I recommend you a value of 0 to 5 for this game. Don't use a higher value to keep your mouse movements responsive. The Simulate Analog Behavior feature is another Zim option that I do not recommend to use in Apex Legends. You can find this feature when you scroll down a little bit until you can see the movement options. At the bottom of it you can click the button with the 3 dots again to expand the advanced settings. There you can find the Simulate Analog Behavior feature. As I just said, Apex Legends is one of those games where it is not a good idea to use Simulate Analog Behavior. There are 3 reasons for that. The first is that the game already has a minor sprinting problem when trying to sprint diagonally. If you add Simulate Analog Behavior on top of that, then in most cases your sprinting will just cancel or not work at all. Another reason is the navigation of the inventory. If you prefer to control your inventory with your keyboard inputs instead of your mouse, then the Simulate Analog Behavior will reduce your navigation accuracy by quite a bit. The last reason is that it's not really that difficult to break into the aim assist bubble of an opponent in this game. So further reducing the resistance of the bubble is therefore not really needed. If your Zim manager doesn't show you the boost, steady aim or simulate analog behavior feature, then you have to update your Zim and your Zim manager to the latest version. This is one of the things that I addressed in the basic Zim configuration guide. Also, if you want to learn more about those 3 new features, then you can check out the tutorial videos on my channel. The next thing to do is to customize your button bindings. Scroll down until you can find the button binding options. Here you can either copy my button layout that you can see right now, or you go with your own one. Use buttons that you can comfortably click on your devices. One thing you should consider though is to preferably place your ability buttons on keys that you can press at the same time as your character movement keys. At the very bottom of your button bindings you can find the button for the advanced settings again. Click it to get the option to switch to the secondary button bindings. This allows you to bind every controller action a second time. Make use out of this if there are actions you would like to bind twice. I use this to bind my ultimate ability button to a single key. When I use the scroll down button on my mouse, my Zim will send both the R1 and L1 button to the console. When your button bindings are complete, you can swipe one more time to the right. That way you will access the aim down sights configuration. The first thing you should do here is to make sure that your activation key is the same key that you bound to aim down sights in your hip primary button bindings. Your Zim Apex should automatically pick the correct key for this. If you use a Zim 4, then you might have to manually adjust your activation button. At the bottom of your aim down sights sensitivity you can find the button for the advanced settings again. Open these settings and pick the same synchronization profile that you use in your hip configuration. For me this means I will go with synchronization common again. If you want to use boost and steady aim, then you can add those now. In my opinion, steady aim is not needed though, but boost will make your mouse movements more responsive. I will therefore go with a boost value of 80 again. Smoothing should also not be needed, but if you want to use it, then you can do that now. The last step is to adjust your aim down sight sensitivity. Scroll up again and pick a sensitivity that you feel comfortable with. I prefer an aim down sight sensitivity of 7. In the last 3 topics I will show you some very useful sub-configuration tips. If you do not want to use those, then your Apex Legends configuration is now complete. You can hit the Save button and exit this configuration with the arrow in the top left. In the 4th topic I will show you how to set up a sub-configuration for the Health and Shield menu. Switching your healing item can be quite difficult without a sub-configuration. With the following trick it will be very easy though. Start by swiping one more time to the right to enter a new auxiliary configuration. After that, click on the Enable button to activate this configuration. The first step is to set the correct activation key. Use the same key that you assigned in your hip configuration for the health kit action. I used the left shift key for this in my hip configuration. Therefore, I will assign this key as the activation button here too. Once that is done, click on the Advanced Settings button right below the activation key. There you can set a delay value. Set the delay to 300 milliseconds. This delay will make sure that you are still able to quickly press your health button to directly use your current healing item. In that case your sub-configuration will not activate. At the bottom of the delay feature you can find the deactivation keys. For this you use the same button that you assigned in your hip configuration for the jump action. For me this means I will bind my spacebar key as the deactivation key. The reason for this is that your jump key is also the confirmation button in the Health and Shield menu. This will make sure that the sub-configuration will be deactivated when you confirm your choice with the jump button. After that you can scroll down to the aim options. The first step here is to expand the advanced settings. Once again pick the same synchronization value that you use in your hip configuration. I will go with common again. The next step is to adjust the boost value. Use a boost of 3000 for this sub-configuration. This is necessary so that even small mouse movements will be picked up by the Health and Shield menu. Right below the boost option you can find the Turn Assist feature. Assign the same key to this feature that you also used as the activation button for this sub-configuration. The Turn Assist key will therefore be the same key as your health kit button. This means that I will use the left shift key again. The last step is to adjust the mouse sensitivity at the top. Use a sensitivity that is roughly twice as fast as your hip sensitivity. Since I used a hip sensitivity of 7, I will go with 15 for this auxiliary configuration. This sub-configuration is now complete. It will work like the following. When you want to switch, or choose your healing item, you just hold down your Health and Shield menu button. This will activate your auxiliary configuration, and also open the Health and Shield menu in the game. After that move your mouse into the direction of your preferred healing item. Even with very small and slow mouse movements you will now be able to instantly pick your healing item. Once you are on the correct item, you can either press the jump button to confirm your choice, or you stop pressing your health kit button. Both methods will have the same outcome, they will confirm your choice and deactivate this sub-configuration. The advantage of this method is that you can use the Health and Shield menu while moving or even sprinting around in the game. The 5th topic will be about a sub-configuration for the grenade and ping selection menu. The setup for these two sub-configurations is exactly the same as the one for the Health and Shield menu. Start by swiping one more time to the right to enter a new auxiliary configuration. Activate it by clicking the Enable button. I will now do the very same steps as before, with the exception of the activation key and the Turn Assist button. Everything works exactly as before. Adjust your delay value, the synchronization feature and all the other steps from before. Once that is done, you can bind the activation key and the turn assist button. This time you will either use your ping button, or your grenade key. Since I don't use the ping menu, I will use this sub-configuration for my grenade menu. My grenade key in my hip configuration is the mouse back button. I will now bind it to both, the activation key and the turn assist button. Once you have bound those two features, your sub-configuration is complete. This configuration works just like the health and shield menu configuration. You either hold down your grenade button to switch your grenades with your mouse, or you quickly click it to bring up your current grenade. If you want to do another sub-configuration for the ping menu, then the setup is the very same. This time just use your ping button for the activation key and the turn assist button. The other settings are identical. I will not show that now. Just repeat the same steps that I just did for the grenade configuration. In the last topic I will show you how to set up a sub-configuration with which you can control your inventory menu with your mouse. Swipe one more time to the right to enter a new sub-configuration. Click the Enable button to activate this configuration. After that, untick the Inherit box right next to it. The activation button will be your inventory key from your hip configuration. In my case that is the R key. After that, tick the Toggle box to switch the activation method to toggle. The next step is to adjust the delay value. Expand the advanced settings to get access to the delay feature. Set the delay to 125 milliseconds. This will make sure that your Zim will not switch too early into this sub-configuration. The next step is to bind a deactivation key. The deactivation key for this sub-configuration will be your crouch key from your hip configuration. I use the left control key for crouching, so I will bind the left control key as the deactivation key for this configuration. This will make sure that your Zim will deactivate your sub-configuration when you close the inventory menu in the game. Once that is done, you can scroll down to the sensitivity options. Set the sensitivity to a value that is 5 times higher than your regular hip Zim sensitivity. Since I use a sensitivity of 7 in my hip configuration, I will go with 35 for this auxiliary configuration. When you have adjusted your sensitivity, you can expand the advanced settings by clicking on the button with the 3 dots. Change the synchronization to the same one that you use in your hip configuration. I will go with common again. After that, set the boost value to 500. This will make sure that your mouse movements in the inventory menu are very responsive. The next step is very important. Tick the box next to the left stick option. This will switch the analog sticks so that you can control the inventory menu with your mouse. The last step is to scroll down until you can see the bottom of the binding options. Here you have to unbind the game menu button. Set it to none. You do that by double-clicking on the button that you have bound to that action. This will prevent the sub-configuration from deactivating itself. This sub-configuration is now complete. When you open your inventory in the game by pressing the inventory button, your Zim will automatically launch this sub-configuration. This configuration will stay active for as long as you are in your inventory. You can now rearrange your gear or switch your weapon perks with the mouse. When you close your inventory, your Zim will also automatically close this sub-configuration. This Apex Legends configuration is now complete. You can hit the Save button and exit this configuration with the arrow in the top left. If you have any questions about the Zim, or about this Apex Legends configuration, just ask in the comments down below. If you liked this video, hit the like button or even subscribe to this channel. Of course, you can also use my Fortnite creator code if you want to. Also, let me know if you would like to see more of these tutorials in the comments down below, and I will maybe see you in the next one. Until then, enjoy your Zim experience.